I'm Paul Dempsey. I'm originally from Halifax, Nova Scotia. I spent a lot of time living in Ontario for the past 13 years though. Moved away when I was about 11, but if you were to ask me, I still say blue noser at heart, that's for sure. Google, believe it or not. I was trying to find some sort of outdoor leadership training course, Googling around looking at NOLS programs, that sort of thing. I can still remember it to this day, sitting on the couch with my dad, and we were both clicking away on the laptops there, and he just said, "Have you heard about COLT?" I said, "No." And so we started looking around and read about it. Just Googling it, found it on the internet, and comparing it to some of the other programs that looked like the best bang for the buck, and it turned out to be true. Before I came to COLT, I spent 4 years in Ottawa at Carleton University. I was studying law at the undergraduate level, but I had this overwhelming feeling that it wasn't exactly the direction I wanted to be headed at that time in my life. I really was seeking and craving some adventure and some wilderness. And so when I wrapped up my time at university, I headed straight out here to the West Coast. I'd never been here before, and dived right into the COLT program, and it was an awesome transition from the academic university setting into a more outdoor adventure-based learning environment. Jim actually picked me up in Campbell River. This short little guy with kind of the hair and the North Face hat off to the side, and big smile and a warm handshake, and I thought, oh, this is going to be good. I could tell already that there was a lot to be learned from Jim, and then I think the drive into the lodge was the most, not intimidating, but overwhelming a little bit, not knowing where we were going, and then all of a sudden, oh, we're here, and we just stopped, and the lodge is on either side of the road, and had no idea what it was going to be like. And then the walk up to the annex, like, this is going to be your home for the next 3 months, and this more or less a glorified shack in the middle of the woods. It was perfect. Finished COLT in 2011, so I did it in the summer of 2011, so it's almost a year ago now, and it's hard to imagine it was a year ago now. A lot of things have changed since then in my life. My favorite moments on the COLT program were sort of when all the work was done. We were camping somewhere, whether it was in the mountains or on the side of the river. We had eaten, everything was done, and we were just absolutely hanging out in the wilderness. That was definitely the best part. You just look around and there's some people that you'd never met before, come from all different walks of life, and then here you are in this really unique location, having the same shared experience, just looking out over the wilderness, and that was definitely the best part for me. And then, of course, making really lifelong friends, lifelong connections with these people that you otherwise would have never met. Favorite trip was the Nimkish Whitewater trip and our 8-day mountain trip where we went in through Marble Meadows up to Mount McBride and then Golden Hind and then back out Phillips Creek. That was probably the best because of the weather. We had stellar weather and we got to do some really great climbing as well. When I finished COLT, I went straight to the dish pit here at the lodge. I started pulling my weight a little bit just so I could stick around a little longer. Actually, no, sorry, I went straight into practicum. That was afterwards. I went into practicum and followed around some of the awesome Strathcona Park Lodge instructors with some of their school programs. And then from there, I actually started working a couple programs at the end of the fall season last year. Then went into the dish pit. And from there, packed up a car and headed down south. We drove to Indian Creek for a couple weeks of climbing, continued on to Red Rocks and Joshua Tree, just kind of lived the dirtbag dream for about a month, and then went back home to visit family and friends on the East Coast. And from there I moved back out to the west for a couple months in Victoria, just living and volunteering on a farm. And I got a job in Dawson City, Yukon Territory, Jeep guiding for this past summer, which was a really awesome experience to go up to the north, as well as to get some experience guiding and taking people around and facilitating groups in the wilderness. It was really great. And being able to explore the north was probably the highlight of my. I'm instructing school programs, really enjoying that. I don't know who learns the most out of some of these programs, me or the kids. But at the lodge, just this overwhelming sense that everyone, even the people that you're learning from, so the real high up instructors, they're still learning, and they're open and willing to share that with you. They're still learning just as much as you are. And that's probably the best part of the lodge, is that atmosphere of learning. The lesson, this take-home lesson from the adventure Scott is describing, is never start a multi-pitch climb after 10:30 in the morning. And never start a multi-pitch climb after 10:30 in the morning when there is a wind advisory for that day. Long story short, we took much longer on a route than we anticipated, and we couldn't rappel just because the route meandered so much. And we ended up topping out in the dark, and as well descending in the dark. It was a big adventure. It was definitely the next step for me, but I think the resounding thing to take home from that adventure is that at no point did spirits get down. We were smiling the whole time, and we knew we'd be okay. And so I think that's a really important thing to remember. Even when you're having an epic, just keep a smile on. You're probably going to be just fine.
Where is this?
This is in Red Rocks on a route called Black Orpheus in the Oak Creek Canyon, I believe. Plans for the winter, leaving the lodge, I'm going to do a swiftwater rescue course in Squamish. And then hopefully by then it's going to be raining a bit, so I'll do some paddling on the mainland with one of my friends that I met with through COLT. And from there we're going to go to Churchill, Manitoba, visit a friend I met in Dawson City who drives tundra buggies. We're going to go check out some polar bears for about a week, and then come back down. I'm going to move to the Rockies and do some skiing, and I'm just firming up some plans actually now to go to Scotland in January and hang out with some people that I met from the lodge last season and do some paddling there. So keeping the dream alive and trying to just go from one adventure to the next. Do it, 100% do it. I definitely had this overwhelming feeling I wasn't going in the right direction, and if you have that and you think for a second that the outdoors and the adventure tourism industry or the adventure industry is something you'd be interested in, I think you should dive right in. The COLT program is a great way to do that and try it out. I really don't think you'll be disappointed, and even if it's not for you, you'll have had a really wonderful experience, and you can always take that with you. It'll serve you well, that's for sure.